Sometimes numbers tell a story we forget to hear. A story about children who go to bed hungry, about mothers who carry the weight of survival, not just for a day, but for generations. About how opportunity can depend on something as simple as where you were born. In Ontario, nearly 1 in 5 children lives in poverty. In Toronto, that number climbs even higher, about a quarter of children. In Scotland, almost 33,000 families are homeless or at risk, and over 15,000 of those are children. In the United Kingdom, children from racialized and ethnic minority backgrounds, particularly those of Bangladeshi and Pakistani heritage, are about twice as likely to live in poverty compared to the national average. In Pakistan, poverty has risen again to about 25% of the population, and women still face barriers to work, safety, and education. Meanwhile, Kuwait reports almost no official poverty, but data on women, migrant workers, and children remains limited. In the United States, over 770,000 people are experiencing homelessness, a reminder that wealth and hardships can exist side by side in every community, no matter what city, province, or country you live. These aren't just statistics. They are stories of displacement, missed meals, and unfinished dreams. Stories of girls who drop out to care for siblings, of mothers who skip their own meals to feed their children, and fathers who oftentimes don't eat the whole day so that they can support their family, of families who fall through cracks we built through inequality. So, Naddy, we have heavy data, but why do you think poverty looks different in Canada compared to countries like Pakistan or Kuwait, Naddy? Do you think that poverty is something unique to mainly Pakistan?
I believe poverty is not a single condition, it has many layers and layers. People experience poverty differently depending on where they live, their social class, and the opportunities available to them. Just as societies have hierarchies of wealth and privilege, poverty too has its own hierarchy. Some people face absolute poverty, struggling for food, shelter, and safety, while others experience relative poverty. Poverty certainly is multidimensional, involving deprivations beyond income, such as lack of access to education, healthcare, and basic living standards. Around the world, poverty wears different faces. In Kuwait, for example, as you just have mentioned in the statistics, there is a strong governance structure and extensive welfare support that ensures citizens' basic needs are largely met. Yet, another layer of poverty exists among migrant workers who work hard to support their families back home. These migrant workers, they have managed to break the cycle of poverty, I would say the level of poverty in their homeland. And when they move here in Kuwait, they are facing a different level of poverty. Here in Kuwait, despite their modest earnings, they are trying to improve their lifestyles. And I often like to talk to people around, for example, people who wash my car. One of them is a man from Bangladesh. Once he shared his story with pride. He told me that he's sending his son to Singapore to study technology. And he was so proud and he was so hopeful about his son's future. And that conversation stayed with me. It showed me that even in difficult conditions, people are striving to break the cycle of poverty. They also have dreams. Their dreams maybe are small in scale, but they are powerful in meaning. They reflect the universal human desire to progress and give the next generation a better chance. Now, I will talk about Pakistan in contrast to Kuwait. Pakistan shows a different reality, layered and deeply embedded in culture. Many people suffer from poverty in silence, and over generations, it has become a normalized part of social life. This may sound controversial, but poverty in some areas has been accepted as a cultural condition rather than a temporary phase. It's not only about the attitude of people, but the social system that is looking for the short term solutions rather than thinking and planning for the long term. So, child labor, for instance, remains a common and painful symptom of the acceptance of poverty. I remember as a child, our household help would often bring her daughter along. She was my age, yet her life was so different. When I used to come back home from school, her daughter, by the way, she was my friend, I used to play with her. So that girl would help carry my school bag, a bag full of books she never had the chance to open or read. Looking back now, I feel a deep sadness. I realize that I too had unconsciously accepted the culture of inequality. It's a hurtful but honest reflection, one that reminds me how normalized poverty and child labor can be when society stops questioning them. Today, when I compare these experiences and I see how poverty takes on different faces in different societies, in Kuwait, I see resilience and determination, people working hard to change their futures. In Pakistan, I see a culture where poverty has been silently absorbed into everyday life. It could be controversial for me to say this. Poverty is not only an economic condition, but also a way of life shaped by shared values, beliefs, and behaviors that can be passed from one generation to another. So, people living in long term poverty, they have developed a sense of powerlessness or dependency. And in Pakistan, I feel there is a belief that success is out of their control. And as if they have given up on the efforts of breaking that cycle of poverty, and they are focusing on short term survival rather than long term planning. There are issues of like poor education, lack of job opportunities, discrimination, unequal access to healthcare or housing. So I am not blaming the people, but on certain extent, I feel that they don't try hard enough to get out of how they are living. Both realities remind me that poverty is not just about money, it is about opportunity, awareness, and the will to rise above one's circumstances.
Nettie, your thoughts are very interesting, and as you have acknowledged, it's could be seen as controversial. The important thing to note is that we are two vulnerable women who are on this podcast to raise awareness for challenges in society and gaps. And one of them is an important topic of poverty. An important question I have is when you talk about Pakistan, and you are, in your opinion, and from what you have observed, you say that, it's a culture. And sometimes people don't see outside of that culture, like there's no view. It resonates with me about one of the podcasts that we did where we were discussing opportunity and the equity versus equality image comes to my mind. And I wonder and I ponder on a country like Pakistan, which we both are very familiar with, that if we talk about a cycle and if children who are being born in a home where their parents, do not have a job, don't have an income, or they have an income, but it's not a living wage, then does this cycle continue for the children? Because oftentimes They are used as a tool to earn income by parents. And I see this through my not-for-profit work with I'm Well, where lots of child laborers are being used and manipulated by their own parents out of necessity, or as you said, a culture. You know, this is what they know, this is what their parents know. Okay, we're going to have children, we're going to have more children because the children are going to be able to work and clean people's homes for us, or work with an auto mechanic, and they're going to be able to bring an income home or pick garbage. Whatever it is that they're doing, the children are in that cycle. In my experience, and through a pilot project that we are going to be initiating, we're going to be having a study to see if we give opportunity to young children who are child laborers or those impacted by poverty where there's not enough of a living wage coming in their home. How will that outcome be different for those children? Will those children, if we provide them clean water access, access to hygiene items, access to clean clothes and food, will, as Maslow said, if their greater needs are being met now, will they be able to focus in school and because they are present now? And will they work hard to achieve high grades so that they can also apply to program? And if they do have high grades to apply to competitive programs, will they then have the money though? Will the money for admissions be a barrier? What is really going on in a country like Pakistan? Many, many barriers play a factor. So when you're bringing up these issues and saying they're controversial, they are indeed controversial, but we need to figure out and unpack that who is to blame for this culture.
I noticed yet another phase of poverty during my time in the United Kingdom. There is a strong social welfare system designed to support those in need, but over the years, it seems that the system has been strained and at times abused. I often saw homeless individuals sitting in town centers wrapped in sleeping bags, appearing almost settled in their routines. It made me realize that poverty here takes a very different form, one where help exists, but not everyone chooses or is able to use it to rebuild their lives. This visible homelessness reflects a complex mix of social, mental health, and systematic issues that go beyond financial deprivation. So, when I reflect across these experiences from Pakistan to Kuwait and the UK, I see how poverty changes its face depending on the environment. In Pakistan, poverty is often accepted as fate. In Kuwait, people work tirelessly to break free from it. And in the UK, it sometimes coexists with comfort and social support, yet remain unresolved. Poverty, therefore, is not just about money, it is about opportunity. It is about mindset and the systems that shape human dignity.
Nettie the Nerd, you made such a valuable point that poverty looks different everywhere. It's not the same for each nation and globally. So I wonder, what is poverty? Homelessness is rising in Canada. If somebody were to have seen certain cities decades ago, situations were different. We did not see many homeless people, but now there is increasing homelessness. Is it a culture now? What is responsible for the rise in homelessness in Canada? My assumptions from my observations are the lack of wages that we consider living wages needs to improve, and jobs. There are lots of jobs, but people are not skilled to meet the needs and criteria to be able to apply to those jobs or even hold those jobs. And so there's a lot of lack in the education system and the economy, which is contributing to many of these challenges that we are facing as Ontarians and as Canadians. And I would say literacy has a big impact on the impacts of poverty right now. Canada has a lot of supports in place. So many things can be politicized, and every politician comes with their own vision. Sometimes you'll have strong politicians and, they invest in the education system and they see the value of it. Sometimes you'll see a push for, the economy through different mediums, depending on the politician and their vision. And so right now, when times are tough globally, I feel that globally politicians should be reflecting on investing in our education system, because we don't have job-ready skills. Literacy rates are pretty poor, no matter where you are. So even if poverty looks different in every country, it also feels different in every country, but it is real. And it could be because of a culture in certain contexts, but is that culture created because of the lack of opportunity that we have since we are born? These are questions we are trying to unpack here. So here in Canada, people are lucky because we still have lots of not-for-profits and many people who do social work, and they understand the importance and value of helping people on different levels. And volunteering is something that is ingrained in high school. So for example, you have to do 40 hours of volunteer work. So we have volunteers helping out in different not-for-profits. And so when we have a system where, even though nationally we are having a lot of challenges and we are seeing growing levels of poverty and homelessness, we still have support systems in place. Not enough though, but we still have them. But I feel, Naddy, that in Pakistan, as we were discussing with meetings that we were having with other people when we were trying to get approvals for I Am Well's pilot project, depending on where you are in Pakistan, volunteering is not a concept that is well welcomed. People feel entitled that even if they're volunteering, they need an incentive. They have to be paid. So how are we going to reach the young children who are child laborers so they can have opportunities if we don't have resources? And resources includes volunteers, not-for-profits. And I know lots of not-for-profits are doing great work. We have Islamic Relief, Al-Khidmat. There's a lot globally that are going into different countries like Pakistan and Bangladesh and India, and they are helping out. They are reaching out in Africa. And it's great to see this. But the people of those countries who are rich, the wealthy people, the upper class, do you find that sometimes what we call the Dig, giving food in abundance, especially every year when it comes to the time of Ramadan or Christmas, everybody's in the spirits of giving and they give the food and they're done until the next year? Do you feel that this can change, that we can bring volunteering into the country? What do you think about that?
First, I will talk about Pakistani nation. They are big-hearted people, certainly. They are generous people, as charity is deeply embedded in Pakistani culture. The question here comes that What type of giving they think of? When you talk about the basic, like they are very generous in sharing food. They are very generous when you see them, when natural disasters happen. They take out things from their homes. It's not about the rich people, the people who are poor, but they are not affected by those natural disasters. They help. They have the spirit of sharing. But I believe there is no structural setup to keep the charity or to keep the volunteering work, to work on changing the infrastructure for the people who are struck in this poverty. So I would not say that people of Pakistan are not volunteering, but I certainly question that are they volunteering in projects that can actually be impactful. Let's say the area of education, working for the farmers who are affected by poverty. So there are people working, but we need more people to be there. I will bring statistics like Pakistanis are considered one of the most charitable population in the world in terms of the proportion of income they get. According to a 2020 report by the Charity and Development Forum of Pakistan, around 10 to 15% of annual household income is given to charity in some communities, especially as you said, during Ramadan and if some natural disaster happen. So the impact of that charity is mostly on providing basic needs, as you say, food. We need to work on projects that will bring change and that will impact the lives of people who are living in poverty. So in this regard, the practical miss, how do you think MWell can be impactful in changing the lives of people instead of just feeding them 3 times a day?
So I feel like will be able to play a impactful role, as you have very well said that people of Pakistan have big hearts and they give to charity. That is a fact. And I see that from my family to my relatives to our friends. And every time we go to Pakistan, there's a lot of hospitality over there. We are known for that. From the way that we say salam, all the way to how we welcome people in our homes. And, we love to feed people. And even when it comes to charity, I feel the major focus is always on food and feeding people, which is very important. And I see that in Canada too. Like a lot of people, the focus is on, canned foods, canned food drives. And after that, I feel, yes, people give used clothes. But where I saw a gap, both in Canada and in Pakistan, however, I saw a gap in both countries. And that was in hygiene and education. And I feel that the role is there and people are ready. If you give them opportunity to see something, give them a good reason, I feel people are welcoming in Pakistan and in Canada to helping out people. So through our awareness programs, number one, we want to raise awareness that whether people are from Pakistan or Canada who are impacted by poverty and homelessness, hygiene matters. And many people, especially young people, don't participate in school because they don't have access to clean water, clothes, and even sometimes, unfortunately, their conditions at home are very uncleanly. And this is a reality of Canadians increasingly. And in Pakistan, it has been there generational, as you said, the culture. And when we say the culture over there, we are not generalizing to everybody who is impacted by poverty, but in a general sense, you know? And I feel that when we talk about culture, we have to also be cognizant that when somebody is born in a home where they don't have opportunity, then it is not their fault that they're born into a system where they don't have opportunity. How they are going to get out of that depends on everybody in the system, the education system, the economy, community, neighbors, family, friends, to help out. Are we going to judge them? Are we going to say, oh, you know what? They have a habit. They have a habit. Their dad did. Their dad always took the money from somebody, and we're enabling them, and don't give it to them because, you know, their dad is just taking the money. And, you know, we can have this mindset because oftentimes we hear these narratives, but is it the fault of the child? How are we going to help families so that we don't enable some people who have a culture of poverty and are used to getting that help, but have not taken an active role in trying to help them to get out of that poverty when they do have chances? Sometimes some people can't go, you know, they might have a disability or a learning challenge, or how many women in Pakistan are where they are widowed, they don't have anybody in their home, they cannot work. You know, they have so many barriers. So those are the kinds of people who I feel that the culture doesn't really align with their context of their narrative of why they are in a system of poverty, but I feel the whole society is failing them. And even the child laborers who are going out and working and being used in the system, and since they're like 4 years old, they are cleaning and they're working, you know? So that system needs to change. So one, we want to raise awareness for this in Canada and Pakistan, that it's everybody's right to have basic necessities. Number one. Number two, raising funds that can be authentically, with transparency, be distributed to the people who are in need. Because what happens oftentimes is that people who are supposed to distribute certain things sometimes take those things, even though it wasn't meant for them, because they feel entitled that they're doing a job, I'm volunteering, so, you know, I can take this too. So we have to educate our volunteers and everyone in the system that when you are getting rations, whether it's food or hygiene, if you yourself are somebody who is impacted by poverty and it was meant for you, then you should have it. But it should not be a perk that if you're getting some form of aid from any not-for-profit, that you can pocket something and feel entitled because you are doing a good deed. A good deed should be there simply because you are doing a good deed. You're doing an act of charity with no incentive. That's what a not-for-profit means. We do not take a profit. We are working as citizens, global citizens, to help people in our country and people outside of our country. So we need to make sure that we raise awareness for this and we educate people. And next, we need a system and a structure, as you said, one where there is sustainability, so that when we are raising our funds and we have resources, for example, our hygiene care packages that have a lot of hygiene items in it that people need, child laborers need, we now have a system where we can distribute them to those children and their families who need them on an ongoing basis to help them out. And we are talking now about the children who we do not want to be working in somebody's home while their neighbor or their community or a neighborhood a couple blocks down, the children are going to school. So we need to provide the same opportunity of security for those children, for those child laborers, so they can go to school. So Naddy, we are familiar with the conditions in Pakistan where in schools too, access to clean water and washrooms in certain communities is scarce. And so when we have our funds, we one school at a time will either build washrooms where there is no washrooms or rebuild washrooms that conditions are very unhygienic and unsafe, to bring back dignity into the lives of the children and staff who go to the washrooms. This is a privilege in countries, and it's the norm where countries have a system that is set up, access to clean water, hygiene. This is a norm. In many parts of Pakistan, it's a norm too, but unfortunately, in some parts and in some communities, it is not.
There is so much work to do. Poverty is a complex reality, and there are so many pieces to the puzzle. Some parts make you feel sad, and some attitudes or behaviors you encounter along the way can discourage you, and even making you question whether volunteering will make a difference. But let's not give up. Let's keep trying. Let's keep serving, and let's continue putting the pieces together, because every act of kindness brings us closer to a world filled with hope, dignity, and opportunity for all.